All right. So, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to see the interview questions for AWS, and this could be as in your next DevOps interview. All right. So let's start with the question first. Why do we make subnets? The reason for creating subnets is to divide a large network into smaller ones. So that's why do we make subnets. Next question is what is Snowball? Snowball is a service or application designed to transfer terabytes of data into and outside of the AWS cloud. So, just to give an example, suppose you have a huge uh, terabytes or petabytes of data that you want to move to AWS cloud from your on-premise server. You could take help of Snowball service. The next one is CloudTrail. What is CloudTrail? And CloudTrail is basically used for auditing purpose of your AWS account, and it ensures that all the compliance and governance of the AWS account is in place. Moving on to the next question, question number 4, AWS IAM. So IAM is one of the service in AWS. It's called as Identity and Access Management. It allows users to securely access any AWS resource. So yeah, so this is a huge topic and it could be like it could be asked in detail. So read it thoroughly and we will prepared for this one. Sharding. Sharding is also called as horizontal partitioning because of uh, see in any of the applications where the data is going to increase over the period, it's better to have the sharding in place so that the performance of the application is not impacted. So yeah, so sharding is one of the crucial things while handling huge data. All right, next question is six number, how to secure data at rest in S3. I've just mentioned answer expected is AWS KMS. uh, but you'll have to elaborate this further, like how would you secure data not in transit but at rest, so the steps basically. Okay. Next question is number 7, type of AWS instance. So you need to check first from the interview whether it's classification on the basis of uh, cost or something to do with performance and storage. So on the basis of performance and storage, the various classification of AWS instance is first one, memory optimized. It's denoted by R symbol. Computer optimized. It's denoted by C. General purpose. Its notation is M and T. Uh, Storage optimized. All these are basically AWS instance types. So please memorize this one. Next question is number 8. What is CDN? Content Delivery Network. So CloudFront CloudFront is one of the CDNs. It's a CDN basically in AWS. Its purpose is to make the data available in cache for the users, so that there is no latency experienced by the user. So basically, this service makes it available in the user in the region where the user is closely located. Uh, yeah. Next question. I hope it's clear up till now. Next question is number 9. How to allow the internet access in private subnet. So by attaching NAT gateway, this was asked to me one of the DevOps interview. So just keep this in mind. By attaching NAT gateway, you can make like internet accessible into your private subnet. Okay. And next question is this is very important question. What are the types of SQS queue? So basically, there are two types: FIFO and standard queue. So if further the interviewer asks you like what's the difference, so you'll have to specify the difference between two. I've noted down some of the differences between these two. One is the message transit, like how much message is delivered in per second. That is 300 messages per second is the limit for FIFO. and it ensures, whereas this has no limitation, the standard queue has no limitation, whereas this has 300 message per second. As I told, it ensures the ordering is in the FIFO, that is first in first out. Standard queue does also try to order the packets or messages using best effort ordering, but it's not guaranteed, but FIFO has that guarantee. The next difference is only once the FIFO ensures that the deliveries happened only once, but in the standard queue, there's a possibility like the message can be delivered more than once, uh, can be delivered twice, or it can be duplicated. I mean, okay, so these are some of the differences, and it's an important question. Next question, number 11. What are AWS S3 commands? List some of those. So S3 copy, S3 MV, AWS S3 LS, S3 MB, all those commands you will have to practice. And I think most of the commands you would have used. So list ls would list, and there is one command called as rb to remove the elements from the bucket. And yeah, just practice those commands, and it's very useful for your interviews. Next is EBS versus EFS. This difference are usually asked in your interviews. One and the one basic difference I've tried to list it here is EFS can be attached to multiple instance, whereas EBS cannot be attached to multiple instance. There are many other differences, but the most crucial I have listed here. That is, EFS can be attached to multiple instance. Okay. Next question is, what is the difference between AWS region versus availability zone? So I've just written the short form as AZ. That's availability zone. So difference is like AWS region is physical geographic location in different parts of the world, like US East or Mumbai, like in the region in India. All these are region, but and those regions have multiple availability zones. What are availability zones? Basically, are the physical separated data centers within the AWS region. So this is how you will explain to the interviewer. Okay, storage class. Next question: the storage class that are available in S3. So I've listed the available storage classes in S3, that is standard infrequent access, glacier, and the reduced redundancy storage. So all these are the available storage class. You can pause the video and have a look properly, like what are the things I've listed in this one: standard infrequent access, glacier, and reduced redundancy storage. Okay, so next question, there is CIDR block, cider block. Not when interviewer asks you this one, his intention is to know, do you have the concept of how uh, subnets work, and how do you assign the IP range within a subnet using cider block. So just to give you a pointer on that, there's a channel called Java Home Cloud. The person has explained it very well on this concept about cider block. So go and have a look on that. Next question, steps to attach volume to existing EC2. So these are the steps which I've noted down, and you need to explain it to the interviewer. Because this is for the Linux EC2 machine. The steps are, firstly you'll create a volume, attach it to EC2, and then you'll have to make volume as file system using mkfs command. And once that is done, you'll have to fire mount command and map it to a drive on your EC2. Okay, moving on to the 17th question. How many subnets can we have? Can a user have per VPC? So this is more of a theoretical question, but it was asked to me once. So I think I should. That's why I made a note of it. So answer is 200. You can have 200 subnets within a VPC. Okay. Next one is ALB versus NLB. Uh, there is a comparison questions where in this one where people get confused. So you have to again keep this in mind, like ALB versus NLB. What is the difference? Uh, I've noted some of the differences here. Quickly, I'll read it out for you. ALB works at layer 7, whereas NLB is at layer 4. This handles HTTP and HTTPS request, ALB, application load balancer, whereas the NLB is for handling TCP and UDP package. Uh, Last difference is does not provide static IP address. Application gateway does not, and whereas NLB does provide the static IP address. And one of the other differences I remember on top of my head is um, you can have a backend as target instance. Like you can have EC2 and stuff for your ALB and NLB for both of them. But for NLB, you can also have a ALB as your backend. So that's the difference. Okay, keep this in mind. NLB can have a target as a ALB. So yeah, but that's not the other way around. ALB cannot have a NLB as a backend. I hope I'm correct, and I think I've read about it. So yeah, you also try to keep this in mind. Okay, next question. What are the T2 instance? It's a good question where interviewer wants to check like you have a concept of how things work at the instance level. And I've noted down like answer would be T2 instance are intended to give the ability to burst to the higher performance whenever the workload demands. So it's self-explanatory. Like that's the purpose of having a T2 instance. Okay. The last question for the day, number 20. Difference between I am role and I am user. So I am role is basically used to securely access your environment, like any other resource in the in your AWS VPC, you would say, or uh, also like you can check some of the Stephen Marek's video uh, for this. Where I am user is something a user basically which has a permanent credentials for him to access the AWS service directly. But as I said, IAM role is something where you define the policies, and using those, suppose you attach a IAM role to a EC2, on that EC2 can access S3 or any other resource securely. Or if you want to list all the users, you can use a IAM role if you have that policy created under that IAM role, and that IAM role gets attached to a EC2. So when once you log into that EC2 uh, using SSH, you can fire the AWS commands. Yeah. All right, guys. So that's all for today. Thank you and good luck.